What's up everyone? Today I'm going to show you how to make some quick and dirty floating shelves in under 5 minutes with 5 tools. You might not have these 5 tools, but it doesn't matter. It's still with 5 tools and it's under 5 minutes. So it's going to be a quick one. I expect you to watch the whole thing if you're already watching now. Let's do it. Alright you guys, 4 shelves in 5 minutes using 5 tools. Here we go. I just dropped my slab on the ground with my saw and I'm just going to rough cut this lumber up. This piece of wood was 4 inches thick. If you're recognizing the look of this wood, yes, this is monkey pod, super beautiful stuff. It's going to look pretty crazy as a floating shelf, about 4 inches thick like I said, so I just needed to flatten it. Here's tool number 2. So I'm just flattening each piece. Again, these are rough cut. I'm going to take that live edge off, but just sending it through the sander back and forth to get it all cleaned up and to get each piece of wood the same thickness. As you can see here, this is a completely separate piece, has a little bit of that sapwood here, so there's going to be 2 shelves with sapwood, 2 shelves without sapwood, and it's going to look pretty cool. When you're ripping live edges off of slabs, just find a nice straight center line, and then off of that center line, you can rip that live edge off, and you want it to kind of go with the grain as much as you can. I had to bring in my beefier track saw. This is like a Sasquatch. It can cut, what can it cut? Maybe like 4 inches thick. It's pretty awesome. 1 pass, no problem for this beast, and that's on the True Track system. If you need something to cut thick material, definitely check that out. It's been great for me. And then to make the other cut parallel, I just grab my little gauge there and mark 12 inches, and I'm going to make that other pass, and those cuts are going to be nice and parallel. And then once you get those 2 sides nice and straight together, you can rip the ends off to make them nice and square. And then once I do that, I'm just going to throw them back through my sander a couple times just to make sure that they're completely even. And now we need to drop in our hardware. So what I'm going to be using for these shelves is the HOVR system. If you haven't seen them, definitely go check them out. It's an aluminum reinforced bracket. All it is an aluminum French cleat. So if you've ever made a French cleat out of wood, it's just a really strong aluminum one that you're going to put behind your shelf. In order for it to go into your shelf, you just need to cut out a nice groove in the back that this thing can sit in there nice and flush. So the shelves need to be at least 2 inches thick, or I think they say 1 7/8 or something like that, but 2 inches to be safe. These shelves were plenty thick, about 3.5 inches thick by the time I was done sanding them. And what I'm using here is I'm just using my dado stack, and I'm just dropping the shelf on there. And you can kind of see on the back of this shelf right there, there's a pencil line. And that's to make sure I don't push too far to blow out my dado through the side of that shelf, because obviously you wouldn't want to see it and it would be ruined. So I'm making sure that I stop before the blade can cut all the way through. And you can see on that first pass, well, it's 2 passes, but on the same depth. I need to go a little deeper than that. I did make sure that when I drop the blade even more, it won't blow through the side. So after doing all of them, you can see that the aluminum bracket over there sits nice and flush. If you really wanted to, you could use your router to clean up those edges, but this shelf it's going to be plenty strong. I don't need the bracket to reach all the way to the end. And all I'm doing here is just spraying some polyurethane spray in there to just seal up the insides. The finish I'm using is Rubio Monocoat, so I didn't really want to mess around with getting it into those dados, but as you can see on the top, they just came out super beautiful. The grain and just the clarity on this wood is awesome, and man, those are some mean looking shelves. They're going to look great together. So these 4 shelves are going on either side of a sink. So the 2 with sapwood are going to go underneath, and then the 2 without the sapwood are going to go above them. And it's going to look pretty uniform. And as you can see, when they got installed into the house, they looked pretty sweet. And just like that, you should have some shelves, and people are going to be like, wow, that looks really good. And then inside you're just gonna know how easy it was, and you can say, thanks, I know it looks really good. Anyway, this behind me is going to be in the next video or 2. It's a table base, and if there's a table base, then there's gonna be a table. And oh look, here's half of the table. So man, you really might want to just subscribe so you don't miss it. That would be a good idea. Well, give me a like, give me a sub, give me a comment, give me a dislike. Go ahead and do it all. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.